Hi folks, this is Sunday the 29th of April and we're showing you the final topper for the gazebo, which is a hex frame that has a hex topper on it, and you really can't see the base, but now we have the wind vane with a beautiful schooner in full sail on the very top. Karen helped by steadying the ladder, and I went all the way to the top. We leveled it very carefully. It's right within the bubble on all 6 sides, and it came out just beautifully. The neat thing about how we secure this is kind of tricky because you can't really put screws in the shingles from the top. So what we did was, once we had the entire structure all ready to go and all assembled, that's the hex that you see, the frame and the top, we drilled approximately a 1/2 inch hole through the dead center of the very top, inserted a threaded rod through that with 2 lock nuts on the very top and a very wide 1.25 inch and a half washer, and essentially dropped that down onto the interior of the gazebo. That exposed the threaded rod, and what we did was we cut a 10-inch diameter piece of wood out of 3/4 plywood, stained it both sides, sanded it to within 1 inch of its life, threaded the rod through the center hole of that, and actually I used a 10-inch saw blade for my template and just drew a circle around it. And by doing that, we inserted the rod through that interior disc and slowly started tightening the nut and the big washer on the bottom, while I held the 2 lock nuts on the very top, and Karen just kept tightening it until that disc actually made contact with the 6 rafters that meet all in the middle underneath the top of the gazebo. Once that was done, she leveled the disc with a small little 12-inch torpedo level, and she held the nut down there, and I just started cranking until we got a nice solid feel. You didn't really need to get any more than that. It's just a stabilizing factor, but it's a 3/8 inch rod, I believe, and it's solid stainless steel, and it is not going anywhere. So we have 2 nuts and a big washer on the top, and also on the bottom. The next thing was, how do we mount that frame, or the base that holds the new wind vane? And I simply took a piece of 3/4 stock that was already stained, treated wood of course, stained it the Kona brown as the rest of the gazebo was stained in, and then drilled a hole straight through the dead center of that by just doing a corner-to-corner crisscross. So that now would be wide enough to accept the bolts that would just simply, it would fit over. And then I took a spade bit and I carved out a hole in the dead center of a 4x4 block that is actually angled on the top to accept the angled bracket that you really can't see, but it holds the wind vane in place. That was properly stained. We then took that 3/4 inch stock, it's 3/4 by 4 inches, and screwed that to the very bottom of that 4x4 block that we angle cut. And now that was a solid assembly. There are 4 3-inch screws holding it together, and essentially turned it into one piece. At that point, we went on the top. Because of the holes I drilled through it, it simply slid right over the top of those 2 lock nuts, and actually you could swivel it side to side and have it not move. We angled it so it is facing due north, according to Karen's compass on her smartphone, which I don't have, by the way, and tightened it down with 4 deck screws on the top that you can't see, and it ain't going anywhere. If it does, the whole gazebo is going to be gone. So that's the long and the short of it. I'm not sure if you can see. I'm going to try to go inside the gazebo, and maybe you can see. Oh yeah, you can. There's the top of the fan, but if you look even higher, there is the disc and the threaded rod that we have right through the top. And you see how really beautifully engineered this was. You know, two thinkers putting together, and eventually you get to the moon. And that nice washer will hold it in place. The rod is a little bit longer than it needs to be, but if for whatever reason we need to make any adjustments, it's really simple to get to. So that is where we are, and this is the rest of the gazebo. Our famous fan now. We got a couple of trim pieces that have to go in that you'll see right there. There you go. But now I'll zero down, and we laid the final piece of the puzzle, and there is the beautiful medallion that Karen actually wood cut. And of course it is due north, as you can see, and I'm standing right at the door, and you can see the North Star on the bottom right hand corner. We cut this thing to fit, and there's a 4x4 block underneath the dead center of it. It's just sitting there, so if we have to take it out, we can take it out, and hopefully we won't have to, but it's supported in the middle. There might be 1/16 of an inch deflection down, but that's pretty much it. So in the meantime, I'm going to zip up here, and about 10 days ago we reseeded the back lawn, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was all just dirt. So you can see it's now starting to slowly come in. You can see the grasses that are growing here. They eventually will fan out and fill in. But I was really surprised that you can see the lawns up there by the main homestead. There are several varieties of grass, but they're coming in nicely, and we reseeded them once. We fertilized and did all sorts of essential elements applications. And Karen's gardens are really growing spectacularly. She had to replant all of them. Look at how nice that is from being completely flooded out. So now I'll just pan over here really slowly. The sun will wash out a little bit, but look at how quickly the lawn came in. There, you know, there's some weed stock in there too, but eventually the grass has choked all of that out, and they're seasonal anyhow. So I'll just zoom over here, and we have what we call the citrus garden, and we've got lots of little fruit all over the place. We've got navels, and we've got grapefruits and pomelos, quite a number of them. And so far it's looking pretty good. But the most important thing is the finishing of the gazebo that I'm standing in, and the last thing to do is to install the corner brackets. And I'll zip down, and you can see there is the corner brackets and the support small posts that they will fit into to complete the angle between the two 4x4 posts, so it's nice and straight. But we have 10 of those to go in, 2 on each section. There are 5 sections. And then once that is done, I will install the screens, and away we go. So, one last story short, getting longer and longer. You can see the beaming that I put in there for the electrician. There's the conduit. But bottom line is, with everything installed now, and that neat little disc that we decided would hold the topper up, everything should be done. So next installment will be probably in a couple of weeks. All for now. Bye.